Snowy River, one of Australia's main river systems, originating at Mount Kosciuszko, the nation's highest point, and draining at Bass Strait.
It is one of the many river systems that runs through the Snowy Mountains, which is located in eastern Australia in an area many refer to as the Great Dividing Range. The river was once known for being a decent fishing spot, an excellent example for a healthy river ecosystem, and a spiritually significant Aboriginal site, all of which is still somewhat true today, however not to the same extent, due to the development of the Snowy Mountain Scheme, which is the largest use for the river today. However, it's also responsible for the decline in its ecosystem prosperity. The scheme was a 25-year plan to build dams, tunnels, aqueducts, and power stations beneath the Great Dividing Range in an attempt to redirect water flows to rivers such as the Jindabyne, Murray, and Murrumbidgee from rivers such as the Snowy River. Ultimately, this was intended to irrigate much of the land west of the Great Dividing Range, which doesn't receive as much rainfall annually due to orographic uplift. The scheme also involved the building of hydroelectrical power stations beside the downward flow of water. The project was finished by 1974 and it cost the government $82 million. Today these power stations make up 32% of all renewable energy in the eastern mainland grid of Australia. The scheme annually provides 570 gigalitres of water to the Murray River, which has greatly assisted the entire region's economy in times of drought. Despite the scheme's many benefits to Australia as a nation, it practically ruined the Snowy River. The 1961 diversion of river flow resulted in the river containing only 1% of the river flow it originally had, raising the riverbed. This ultimately made it more shallow and cool, as smaller bodies of water absorb less sunlight. It is believed that this was the main causation for the disappearance of many of the river's native species, such as the platypus, and the decline of many others, such as the Australian bass, which were unsuited to the major changes and found it difficult to adapt in the short period of the scheme's development. Since this time, government bodies have been able to raise this number to 21% of its original flow, releasing large masses of water into the river annually, for example 17 billion litres in 2010. However, this is still not enough to return the ecosystem to its former state. Invasive species that were introduced to the environment by humans have also had some impact on the river. The most prevalent example being that of the feral horses, which are known to pollute the river, leading to the spread of diseases such as tick disease among the local population. It can also be theorized that overfishing also is a major factor that continues to contribute to the decline in the abundance of fish populations in the Snowy River's ecosystems, as to this day, fishing is still a practice which is extremely common amongst tourists and locals alike. Daniel Snowsall, in his Snowy River Priority Native Fish Assessment, highlighted the decline in Australian bass and grayling as demonstrated by this graph. Snowy River's ecosystems is in dire risk, as summarised by of the Conservative Foundation, Kelly O'Shasney, quote, "The Snowy River is not back to health. It's nowhere near healthy. Neither is the Murray River. So we're talking about ecosystems that are on the brink and changing those ecosystems." One of the best ways overfishing can be controlled is by increasing the size limit in order to ensure fish population complete their breeding cycle. This costs very little, although this may slightly discourage fishing in the area, however it can only positively impact the ecosystems of the Snowy River. However, it must be noted that the current size limit is 50 centimeters, and the bag limit is already at 1 in the region. Both of these regulations are already very strict, and although they are likely to be effective should we raise them further, it may result in public backlash. The impact of invasive species, such as the previously mentioned feral horse, can be controlled should we introduce diseases that either lower the birth rate via sterilization or death rate. An oblivious outsider, it may seem like limiting the amount of water diverted for the Snowy Mountain Scheme would be the best solution to the main problem. However, this plan is unrealistic as it fails to take into account Australia's dependence on the scheme as previously discussed. In fact, Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull suggested just this year that a $4.5 billion investment be made into expanding the scheme. No, the most realistic way we will be able to return the river flow to its former state is by simply increasing the amount of water we release into the river annually. It may not be a permanent solution and it may be expensive. However, the success in raising the river flow back to 21% through this method proves that it is effective, and should it be done on a larger scale, it can be assumed that river flow will continue to increase and sediment banks will once again be washed downstream and ecosystems can be returned to their former state. Individuals can help by demonstrating their support for the Snowy Water Initiative, which has already spent $1.2 billion on infrastructure upgrades to increase the scale of environmental releases in the name of river recovery. This is likely to influence the government into further fueling the project, which is likely to help recover the Snowy River in the long run. If humans choose to ignore the short and long-term impacts of their own activities affecting the Snowy River today, it will likely result in the same issues previously discussed, continuing, and being that of the decline of ecosystem prosperity, the reduction of water cleanliness, and the extreme reduction in river flow and abundance of water. In summary, the Snowy River has undergone dramatic change in the past 60 years due to human activity, and its future is in our hands. Let's not let it go.